Everybody knows Sam. Sam, we would like,
Sam.
you're new, so why don't you
Hi,
introduce,
Sam.
introduce.
Nice to meet you.
Good to meet you, Jacqueline Payne.
Jacqueline and
Frankie.
Frankie and
Colleen.
Colleen, and I know the other guys.
Frankie came to us from EXP and we're thrilled to have him.
Yep. Cool.
I mean
Good to see
Sam.
him again.
So, you were, this is just a little different for you because Dell and I just switched. Usually I do Wednesdays, Camp
That's what
Advantage.
they were telling me.
And Camp Advantage just takes on a different way than business development, you know, and it's really, it's what Phil, these guys will tell you. Business development is strictly that. What Dale does is help you develop business. What I do on Wednesdays is more what you guys want to talk about. Consider a round table with the broker for an hour and a half.
Okay.
What's on your mind? What's going on in your plate? And it could be business development. It could be your contract issue. It could be septic tanking. I mean, we talk about what's going on in your world.
Right.
So we just have different approaches. But I will start off the conversation this way. Something happened last week that I'm still trying to get you more accurate numbers, get myself more accurate numbers, and I'm trying to understand this better. So here's a question. And you've been around for a while? You've been in Phoenix, North Scottsdale?
I was born and raised here.
Okay, so I'll ask you this question. In your opinion, and you don't have to be politically correct in this room, in your opinion, and I'll use 85255 or North Scottsdale, McDowell Mountain Ranch, DC Ranch, and Greyhawk, what brokerage firm do you think has market share in those three subdivisions?
Fine properties.
No, are you saying that or because you
No,
know
I
that?
kind of researched you.
Okay, what do you think?
Bloom Van Omen.
Okay, what do you think?
Sotheby's.
What do you think?
EXP. Just
Wow.
I bet you we have the top, but I think Sotheby's has got to be.
I know we do.
Which areas?
Just North Scottsdale, and the three subdivisions, particularly would be McDowell Mountain Ranch, DC Ranch, and Greyhawk.
Homesmart?
Okay, fair enough. What do you think? Troy, what do you think?
I should know it, but I would say either us or Russ Line.
Okay, Natalie, what do you think? You didn't hear the question. If I gave you three subdivisions, DC Ranch, Greyhawk, and McDowell Mountain Ranch, and you don't have to be politically correct in this room, and I asked you what company do you think has market share in those three subdivisions, who would you say?
I'd say Remax,
Interesting.
or Sotheby's.
Okay. And why would you say Remax and why would you say Sotheby's?
And you say you
I
start
see a
on
lot.
How are you
I
guys?
see a lot of their signs.
Okay.
Good.
Run into a
I'm
lot
taking
of
the head count.
agents.
All right, just hold on to that thought. Just hold on to that.
Okay.
Go Pioneers.
So, Sandy and I switched this week, so he's got business development. I had Camp Advantage. Scott and I door knocked yesterday. Scott, we hit about, 10 doors?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm available for that if you guys want to do any field type stuff like that.
One
Yeah.
call this morning back.
Good from that lady.
No, another guy.
What's his name?
Sandy.
Okay, great.
So he said, yeah, I'll sell my house. Have
Yeah.
him over.
Yeah, good.
So I texted David, see what he says.
Yeah, good. So what happened was we have a buyer looking for a Mirador. It's a special home in Desert Ridge, and we're out of inventory. So Scott, the quick business development idea, right? Scott, what did you? So it's not always about expireds and cancels, right? So we went into tax records, pulled all the Miradors, and then we went back 2 years of every Mirador that didn't sell, that didn't change.
Ownership.
Thank you, ownership, and we door knocked them. Yeah, and so one call back, and we had one conversation.
Yeah, Dell got all pissed because I didn't get her phone number.
So I did. So let's talk about that.
It was my fault, I mean. You know,
So my expectations are high, and I get that, right? I want you guys to be bold. So out of those 10 door knocks, we spent about an hour and 15 minutes. We had one opportunity, and I happened to be on the phone, and I noticed the garage was up, and Scott went up there, right? Scott was having a good conversation. I'm like, sweet, we're gonna get a name, number, and email address. So Scott comes back. We have a conversation. I said, so what's her contact information? I don't know. I didn't get it. And I go, well, And I go, what's her?
Pull over, he said.
What's her email address? Yeah, and so I did, and I was being the Dell that I don't like. I'm like, what the fuck, dude? Like, you know, we didn't spend an hour, you know, so we spent an hour fishing with 0 results, right? And that does irritate me because time is money. So yes, I drilled it. I had a field day with him for about 7 minutes. And I said, listen, and I know, I could see Scott shrinking.
I was.
right? But
I knew.
when you have an interface like that, and this is why practice is important, and I tell you guys, what the first thing out of your mouth, right, is what's your cell number? And it's not, can you think about it? Can I maybe have your cell? No, it's what's your cell number? And you don't practice that. Like, look at yourself in the mirror and what's your cell number? So everybody look, just 1 second, look to the person to the left of you. Scott, you would go here.
I'll go.
And look at him, and say, what's your cell number? All right, what's your email address? What's the best number to contact you at?
I can give you that.
And guys, you gotta know that. So it's the same thing as in any skills clinic, right? In any skills clinic, for instance, I'll go to a defensive end, right? They stand like this for a reason, right? And it's to get their shoulder through, I think it's this way.
Whatever side.
I didn't play defensive end. It's to get their shoulder through so they can protect the running back coming to the outside. It's the same thing in sales. If you don't get this basic concept of saying, what's your cell number? They're gonna give it to you. But you gotta say it with some, and then if there's a hesitation on their part, just say, look, I'm not gonna pound you, but my goal is to help. What's your cell number? And ask again. Scott wasn't with me. I had one other interface from a lady, but I asked her 4 times. And I go, what's your number? And she goes, well, I'm not selling. And I go, no, not your sales price. What's your phone number? and she goes, I already have an agent. And I said, I understand that. I just want to keep in touch. What's your number? And she goes, well, I'm not selling. And I said, yeah, that's okay. I think her name was Mary. I said, well, that's okay, Mary. I want to follow up because I think you mentioned earlier that you were thinking about renting. I deal with a lot of tenants. What's your number? I asked 5 times and didn't get it. Didn't get it. Because what's the average amount of time they're going to say no before they say yes? It's usually 5. It's usually 5. And then by the time you get to the 5th, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Everybody stand up. Everybody stand up. Sit down, 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 sit down. By the time you get to 5, there's 2 left.
Yes.
Yeah, that's it. Because, and highly likely that any of you get the order, and they're gonna be the top 10% in the business. Right, those 2 right there. Because even if you're walking into a dress shop, and you guys have heard this from me before, you're looking at buying a dress, and the salesperson that comes up to you, Colleen, and says, how can I help you? What do you say?
I'm just like that.
And then you know that the better salesperson is going to be, where you're in our store, what section of the store can I direct you to?
The dresses.
The dresses. Oh, well, let me show you. And you would walk them over there, and then you would start a casual conversation. What event are you going for? What color do you like best? Is it a formal engagement, right? And then you start probing. But there's a lot of people that'll fold right there. Scott was one of them yesterday. And it's okay, but Scott, if you get into practice, that won't happen again. Natalie, wasn't it you that door knocked in Fountain Hills? Funny story. Door knocked in Fountain Hills, one of the agents I was coaching. Moment of truth, same thing, moment of truth. Lady answered, conversation went great. She jumped back in the car, was driving halfway here. She called me, hey, yeah, we got my packet, we're so pumped, yes, good. I said, great, what's her phone number? Oh, I didn't get it. What's her email address? Oh, I didn't get it. I said, turn the fuck around. Yeah. And Scott, I said the same thing to you, didn't I? Turn the fuck around.
She left with her kids and she's going down the street.
I told Scott the same thing, try to find
I'm glad you didn't say chase her.
She drove all the way back to Fountain Hills, door knocked. She saw the curtains move, and the lady didn't answer. I don't know what the outcome will be or would have been, but I do know this: you have to just ask. So turn to the person again and say, "What's your phone number? What's your phone number?
Why? Phone number.
What's your phone
Talk to the camera.
And your
Sandy, I'll zoom in.
And then-
Maybe you ask for
What
that 5
is your
minutes
phone
in,
number?
20 minutes in, and end of conversation.
Well,
Perfect,
so
that
you
sounds
asked to
good.
come, so my deal was, hey, we have a doctor that's buying in the area.
Yeah.
You know, are you interested in still selling? We saw that you were on the market at one time. And once you kind of get a little conversation
So
going.
if they're like, no,
Yeah, well, and no now, or what
Yeah.
about a year from now?
no,
No?
we're gonna stay here for like 10 years.
So when your house was on the market, where were you thinking about going?
We were thinking about it, but then things changed.
Upsizing or downsizing?
Down.
Like here in the,
Yeah.
here in the like same school district?
Yeah,
Single level or two-story?
same.
Yeah, all right. Well, I'd like to keep in touch with you. What's your
I
phone
have
number?
an agent.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Rats.
Sorry.
Can I be your backup agent?
Yeah, actually, you've been really nice. So yeah, I like that
thanks.
information.
Yeah, so let me tell you what a backup agent is. Let's say that right house comes up and your agent's not around.
Right.
Would you consider using my services? No.
Sure, I'd definitely look into your, I'd like to hear more about you or maybe look you up and see what you've done in the area.
There's my card.
Okay.
What's your email address?
Oh, just give it to him already, will you?
Anyway, my point is, don't give up. Don't give up, because here's what I know for a fact.
That was good then. You did that.
Well, so here's what I know for a fact. That once you decide to give up, you have lost.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I know that. And every time where there's just a sliver of hope, it can happen. It can happen. So when you give up, yes, the ball game is over. When you decide not to do an open house every weekend, when you decide to not call the guy, and I've made these mistakes, right? I made a mistake with a very good friend of ours. Let me tell you the story. Paul and Cindy Golish. Paul had asked me, and Cindy had asked me a couple of times, Cindy and I had their house listed, asked me a couple of times to send them listings in the Arcadia area because that's where they want to buy. And I'm like, well, we don't even have your house listed, so I kind of put it off, right? And look, Natalie's raising her eyebrows, right? And so now I eventually got their house listed, and then I'm like, okay, Ray, send your Arcadia stuff, right? And guess what they said?
They already bought one.
No, they didn't already buy one, but they said, you know what, Del, we decided to use somebody else on the buy side. We love you. And remember, we usually don't work with friends, but we made an exception here. We are going to work with you on the sell, but we're going to work with one of our other friends on the buy.
Oh, wow.
Now, who blew it?
You did.
Fuck yeah, I did. They asked me for the listings in those areas, right? But I was like, it's a little early. Is it ever early?
No.
No.
They're looking.
And I know that. It's going to cost me $12,000, $15,000. I know that. And I'm mad at myself for that. But you should be just as hard on yourselves. And then you can be self-coached and self-motivated, right? Okay, that's it.
Well, thanks for coming.
Nice seeing you. Yeah, thanks. My brother and I are the member guest at the JW today. So, but I wish you guys a lot of luck in your lead follow-up, negotiating, and presenting. And Scott, by door knocking yesterday, you had one call back, right? Potential listing appointment, and you have one lady that you met in the garage that didn't say no. In fact, she asked Scott what was the value of her house, right? Yeah. So two
Told her it was
decent,
$1.98.
right? But Scott, I am proud of you. You did set it up. We had a game plan.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, he got so pissed, he threw the rest of them away. He did. He says, this is a waste of my time.
I didn't say that. but I did look at him and say, take me home.
Yep.
Date's over, bitch. Take me home.
So many people say that.
Because I only have, see, you guys got 8 hours to prospect. I got about an hour and a half a day. So I have to be very pinpointed because an hour and a half a day, and I want to produce massive results. So that hour and a half, I got to come out with a lead. And it sounds like we did. Yeah, all right. Happy Thursday, 2 days in a row. Nice seeing you guys. Who else was 2 days in a row? 2 days in a row.
Sam?
Yep, 2 days in a row, okay. What are you gonna talk about?
Stuff. I'm gonna talk about, I'm gonna piggyback you, and I'm gonna tell you this story about the $40 chicken. True story. We talk about getting a phone number and, you know, practicing your spiel, right? So I used to be in the catering business way back in the 80s and so on. And my job was the catering director at the Hyatt Regency downtown. And we were selling chicken. It was a chicken dinner for banquets, right? It was $20 or $19.99, 3-course chicken dinner. And all of a sudden this fabulous job came to me. I'm now the director of catering conferences, catering convention services at the Scottsdale Princess Resort, this 5-star luxury resort. And now all of a sudden we're selling chicken for $45. It's the same
Same chicken.
freaking chicken. Chicken doesn't have levels like beef, you know, prime, and it's chicken. It comes with vegetables, it comes with potatoes, and you can call it the medley of fresh vegetables. You can go vegetables du jour, chef selection, you can go anything you want. It's vegetables and a potato, and it comes with a salad and coffee. It's still a 3-course meal. And we went from $19.95 chicken to $45. And I'm saying to myself, how can I sell a $45 chicken? It's chicken. I couldn't even sell it $19 and getting flack from, you know, at this downtown Hyatt, right? I swear to God, I sat there for days in the mirror saying, $45. Chicken is $45. Chicken is $45. Where it just came out naturally where, well, of course it's $45. What would you expect? We're the Scottsdale Princess Resort. And then it hit me. You heard the story, sell the sizzle, not the steak, right? They weren't buying the chicken. They were buying the experience. They were buying the whole thing. Hey, where'd you go last night? Oh, I went to Motel 6. No, I went to the Scottsdale Princess, and we were at this banquet, and they had valet parking, and they had this magnificent ballroom and magnificent service and all that stuff. But it took me forever to realize it wasn't the chicken that you were selling, but selling chicken for $45 when I did it for years, selling it at $19.95. That's unbelievable. It's more than double the chicken, and it wasn't the chicken. But it took me a while for that to become natural. I have to sit there, because here's what we would say. We do this with real estate, right? How much is your commission? It's 6%, but you have to understand we co-broke. No, you don't have to make an excuse. Our commission, 6%. What's your next question, right? We do our listing. We do this all the time. I do this in Cam Advantage. We go, you know, this is the start date, this is the end date, this is the list price we talked about, this is the commission that we're going to charge you. And we're waiting for that feedback. Like we're waiting for the retaliation. We're waiting for that what's the word?
Objection.
The objection. We're waiting for it. Just
What do you say to somebody when they say, oh, you know, I talked to another agent, and they're gonna discount it? What's the best way to bounce?
Think size in your backswing.
well, listen. There's lots of different ways, you know, and I can give all the one-liners. You have to look what your comfortability. Well, listen. If you're looking for a discount, I'll give you the name of people that do it for free. We know who they're out there. In the absence of value, they're going to give it to you for free,
Okay.
right? It's
You
not.
get what you pay for.
Yeah, it really is. At the end of the day, you get what you pay for. There's no such thing as a free lunch. There just isn't. You know, is there a better lunch than others? Sure. We've talked about this a lot in Cam Advantage. But you know, listen, I believe that in the absence of value, people will discount because they have nothing else to offer. They have
That's
nothing
what's
else.
happening
Listen, you have the
now.
story.
These other
Wait, I want to come back to your answer, by the way.
Yeah, because that ties in.
But watch this. You heard the story. There's a lady has a leak in her kitchen sink, so she calls a plumber. The guy comes out, you know, using the big belly and the big you know workbench, you know, work belt, and he gets under the sink and his pants come down. He sees the crack of his butt, and he's there. In 15 minutes, he fixes the leak. And he gives the lady a bill for $150. She says, "Wow, that's a lot of money for 15 minutes of work." And he said, "Lady, that wasn't 15 minutes of work. That was 30 years of work." Boy, when I heard that one, that kind of impacted me a lot.
That's kind of good to say if you
Think
follow
about
up
that.
quickly
I've been
in
telling
your
you, for
life.
me, I've been telling real estate for 30 years. You know, it just didn't happen tomorrow. It's all these years of experience to handle it, Jay. Listen, in my opinion, getting to the sale, that's easy. Any monkey can do that. Anybody can do the paperwork. I get it. Anybody can get a listing, anybody can negotiate a contract. That is not what we get paid for. It's navigating through the contract, right? We've all been through the binges. We've talked about this all ears are blue. We've thrown the binges. And listen, I'm dealing now with a septic. You guys know what the difference between a septic system is and an alternative septic system is. And there's an alternative septic system that has a haul and pump system. Do you know what that is? That's what we get paid for understanding it. When a deal goes smoothly, it's because we knew what we were doing. Think about that. When a deal goes smoothly, we make it look so easy because we knew what we were doing.
Not only commissions, but giving them like net sheets and letting them see upfront what they're gonna have to, how much money they're gonna have to come with.
Sure. You ever see that? You ever see that?
Sometimes I shy around and go, yeah, you're putting 50 down, but you're gonna end up bringing,
You ever see that Bill Cosby show? Remember back in the day?
to the
Let me
table.
explain to you where your 6% is going. First of all, this is your 6%. First of all, I take half of it and I share that with the other agent. So this is what my company's, not your commissions, my company's commission. And then when the company gets its commission, they take their share and they give me some. Then I take out the advertising expenses. What it cost me to, okay, how much time did I spend on your listing? My time is worth something. My gas is worth something, all my expenses. And then I get this commission left, and when this commission's left, Uncle Sam wants his share. So at the end of the day, just think about it, right?
And if you have a
Yeah,
referral
it's
fee
good to
too.
use a dollar.
Got a referral fee. I mean, listen, we make a lot of money, we make good money for the service that we provide, we just have to provide the service. In my opinion, I think there's only 3 things that we sell and only 3 things only. We don't sell real estate. Real estate is just a vehicle. Okay? I think in my opinion, what we're in business for is we offer our time, we offer our service, and we offer our knowledge. That's all we do. Real estate is just a vehicle in which we do. Car services, same business. Time, service, and knowledge. That's all we offer. That is it. And if we slack on one, then we're dead in the water. Right?
You know, Kelly was with me when we were talking to my client who has a $1.6 million house, it was time for him to reduce the price. And he made a comment, and I loved her answer. He said, you know, if I'm losing this much money when I reduce it, then I think you guys should, you know, lower your commission.
And the answer
She looked
was?
over, she said, you're not losing any money. And he goes, what? And she goes, you haven't sold it. You didn't get 1.6 million. That's what you had it listed at. You're not losing any money.
Right.
And I thought that was really.
And you realize the lower the price, the lower we make too, so it's all relative. You
Yeah.
sell it for less, we make less
He's
just as
making
much
it
as you
sound
do.
like he's losing money.
Right.
He hasn't lost anything yet.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so home.
So I want to go back to my original comment. So when I asked Natalie why she thinks that Remax and or Russ Lyon has market share, and her answer was because of all the signs that she sees. Okay? So watch this. So I hear a lot in the industry that Russ Lyon has the market share. Okay? So I spent a little bit on over the weekend. I'm still working on this, but I picked those 3 subdivisions: McDowell Mountain Ranch, Greyhawk, and DC Ranch. And I did all the sales in 2018. Okay? These aren't exact numbers, so don't quote me yet, but I will put out a chart. And I find this fascinating. 2018 in DC Ranch, there were approximately 200 sales. I'm just rounding off. There was approximately 200 sales in DC Ranch. When it comes to the listing side, who had market share on the listing side?
In DC, right?
In DC Ranch,
Remax.
Remax did. You knew at second?
Well, probably. Well, I know from yesterday.
Okay. Russ Lyon, second. You knew at third? HomeSmart. And then they go down the line. Okay? In Greyhawk, same thing. In Greyhawk in 2018, on the listing side, market share, number 1, Remax Fine Properties. Number 2, HomeSmart. Russ Lyon wasn't even in the top 5.
Wow.
Interesting, right?
That's
Now,
listings.
now,
Was 3
we
really
can skew
high?
the numbers, I agree with that, because when you add buyer sales, it really was neck and neck with Russ Lyon and but here's the thing, so I've been asking a lot of people, why do we say Russ Lyon? Because I hear that a lot in the industry. Russ Lyon, they're the high-end homes, they're the luxury homes, they're this. And Darren Tackett said something that I thought was pretty profound, and I'm still trying to wrap this and try to understand this. He said, because that's what people see. Russ Lyon has one sign, one blue sign. So when you see one sign over and over again, that's the perception, right? You know, that's the importance of branding. Whether you like it or not, whether we like it or not, we allow RE/MAX to use different signs. You have a luxury collection, you got your regular sign, and then there's variations of the regular sign, okay? The importance of branding and the importance of the logo is that it's consistent. If we use the same sign throughout every listing and we didn't have specialty type signs, I don't think that would be the case. But we do have specialty. Russ Lyon doesn't allow it, and they're way more strict than we are about what we're allowed to use. Okay? When it comes to signage, on a side note, there's two things I'm concerned with when you guys order signs or advertisements. One is ADRE, which we have to apply to, adhere to their rules, and one is the RE/MAX. If you guys want to change your signs, change your business cards, change anything about the logo, the color scheme, the red over the white over the blue, the balloon, the way it's tilted, the way it's used, the way it's enlarged, there's an 85-page manual that'll put you to sleep on the proper use of the logo of RE/MAX. I'm not overly concerned about whether you do it or not. It's just the raw truth. But I have a direct link, and we have a direct link to ADRE. And we can complain all day long about the improper signs, and you guys heard me on a tear yesterday about what's in the front page of the paper, and all the people that are doing the illegal signs. Team name, company name. Team name, company name. Individual name, brokerage name. That's not the way it's supposed to be. But we have a direct link, and there's going to be a big fallout before this year is over about that. So I'm more concerned about our connection with ADRE than I am with RE/MAX. I don't think anybody in the RE/MAX Corporation is coming down anytime soon to look at our signs and saying, you're out of compliance, and Colleen Davis, fix your signs and all that. I don't think that's happening anytime soon, but I do think our direct link to ADRE. So the point being, branding does make a difference. Branding does make a difference. And if nothing more, for perception, and perception is reality. They do not have more market share than we do.
I argued with RE/MAX one time international. I had a different logo I wanted to put on my signs. And this guy calls and he says, "Do you know how many millions of dollars we've spent on branding this balloon?" I said, "No." He says, "If I were you, if you want to go to another company, you can. But we are branding this balloon, and we expect all our agents to brand the balloon."
I will tell people, if they go outside a RE/MAX approved supplier for signage, open house signs, business cards, whatever, as long as you adhere to ADRE rules, I'm okay with it. But you're taking it on yourself and your risk, that if you get called on it, then it's your dollars that need to spend. And there are signs out there, listen, not just our RE/MAX, all RE/MAXs. There are signs out there that just don't conform to, but at the same time, it's hurting our own image.
It is.
It hurts our image. The sea of blue, that's what they call Russ Lyon, the sea of blue, because it's all one sign.
It's just harder to identify their agents
Yes.
over there.
Yeah, it's Russ Lyon and then their agents, some of them aren't even
But look at the perception they have. People think they have market share, and they don't. That's the point. I'll come out with a better chart, but they don't have market share. And I just found that fascinating. So branding doesn't mean something. It means a lot. It means a lot. Anyway. All right, Mike, yeah.
Can we do anything to change that?
Can we, meaning?
Make it consistent? Or
Well, we
find
can sit there and say, you're only gonna do it the way that RE/MAX says you're going to do it, and there's no alternative. I'm just.
Well, let's say
There's already
RE/MAX
a
Fine
standard
Properties
sign.
had,
That's what I was getting at.
this is a sign we want you to have, because we have tons of listings, and we want everybody to.
We couldn't.
Now, Don would probably say, "F you."
His signs are the standard.
He uses the
No,
standard
he
sign.
uses the right signs.
Yeah.
Yeah, he uses the standard
He
sign.
uses the right signs. There are some of us that don't. When I say
Yeah.
us, not me, but there's a lot of us that don't. But they're doing it at their own risk.
Might
Can
wanna
we?
flip that out.
Can we do it? We could. We probably should. Sometimes you make some decisions. You pick and choose your fights. I'm more concerned about ADRE issues. I just am.
Well, how hard are they gonna come down on people?
ADRE? Well, that's going to be a big deal. By the end of this year, you're going to see a big change. The Attorney General's office is getting more involved.
So if you
in
have
stuff.
like your name 3 times the size.
Here's the objective, so you understand. Here's the objective. ADRE is the consumer advocate. They do not handle agent-to-agent disputes. That's the association. They don't handle legal issues. they handle consumer complaints. They are bound by statute that if a consumer makes a written complaint, they must investigate, okay? Here's the thing. If I have a sign and my name is, and it says, I have a nickname, right? Listed by T-Bone. Who's T-Bone? You can't go on a website, on an ADRE website, and find out who T-Bone is. It doesn't exist. Listed by Sandy Carpet, that exists. Okay? And by, if you want to go technically, my name is Sandy, not Sanford. But if my name was Sanford or Alexander or Sandor, I'd have to use my licensee name, because they have to be able to identify you by your sign. And that's why the name, the brokerage name, has to be clear and prominent. By your sign, by any advertisement, your cards, your signage on your email signature line, you have to have your brokerage's name. So you can always be identified by the licensee and the brokerage name. At any given time, I want to see who Colleen Davis with Remax Fine Properties, I know where to find it.
Does that have to be as big as your name, the Remax Fine Properties?
Well, what the rule is, it's got to be clear and prominent. We all heard those words. And here's what Commissioner Lowe will tell you. I'm not sure I can tell you exactly what clear and prominent is, but I can tell you what it isn't.
Okay.
That's what she'll tell you. So I think that's not good enough anymore. And we've all seen, we all know who the guilty ones are. We all know that. We have to. I drive up and down the streets like you do, and I take pictures, and I'll show you in my phone all those signs that are illegal, right? I think they have to be more technical, because here's what happens: everybody does it. Scott does it and says, Scott Harvey, Remax, and then Colleen goes, Colleen Remax. And then you come along, I mean, it gets smaller and smaller and smaller. The brokerage name gets smaller and smaller, and the name gets bigger and bigger. At some point, it's no longer clear and prominent. I think it's really simple, in my opinion. I just think the simple is the size, the lettering size of the name of the individual cannot be any bigger than the brokerage name. To me, that's pretty clear. I'm sure somebody smarter than me can figure out the exact language, but clear and prominent doesn't mean anything anymore. The name, the lettering size, the font size of the name cannot be bigger than the brokerage's name. To me, that solves everything. But no one's asked me yet on that. So it's interesting how it's played. But I think so they're coming up with some rules like use Dell. Dell's name is not Dell Round, listed by Dell Round. That's not his licensee name. It's Delbert Rounds. So the idea is that maybe they put Delbert Rounds Dell, Donald Matheson Don. You know, where do you draw the line? Clearly, Sandy Carpet is not T-Bone, right? So, to me, it's an easy problem. We just let it get out of hand. We just let it get out of hand.
Pictures on signs, you know, you go to other parts of town, you see their pictures.
Pictures of agents?
The agent.
So what? That's fine. That's branding. Nothing wrong with that. However, it still has to have the name of the brokerage. Here's a great story. This is a true story. I was driving around town and I saw this house for sale, and it was a picture of a man and a woman, and it said, for sale, and it said a pair of slacks. And it was I don't know if it was a husband and wife or brother sister or partnership, but it was a man and a woman, and it said pair of slacks. And I said, there's no such brokerage as a pair of slacks, although there could be. So what do? I go to our website, and of course there is no brokerage called a pair of slacks. And there's no brokerage name on the sign. Now, if their brokerage's name was a pair of slacks, that's the name, they're fine. So that's stuff that makes me crazy. So I did some research, I looked it up, and what it was there's a husband and wife, Jack and Jane Slack. That is their name. And they bill themselves as a pair of slacks. It's fabulous, it's great. But that's not, so I called them on it, and I went to the department and all that stuff, and then the other broker got the call, and they had to change their signs. And the other broker called me on it, and he was mad at me. He says, couldn't you call me first? And he was probably right. I should have shown him the courtesy of calling him first. And then if he didn't do anything, then I had a right to go to ADRE. But I really probably should have, and I felt bad. I called him back and I apologized, because he's probably right. I should have called him first and called him on it. But the point was, a pair of slacks is not the brokerage firm. Right? Look at the Callaways.
Yeah.
Callaways, it used to always say the Callaways, John Hall and Associates.
Not
Right?
anymore.
And then they moved, and John Hall moved to Russell, Realty One bought out John Hall, and Callaways formed their own brokerage, and their brokerage is called Those Callaways. That's the name of the brokerage. So their signs are fully compliant. those Callaways, because that's the name of the brokerage. If this brokerage was called Sandy Carpet, then all your signs, my sign would be in complaint, we'd say Sandy Carpet, right? So they were very clever. They were very clever. Their name of the brokerage is their name. So. Okay. What's on your mind? You guys have to tell me, because I like doing these where what's going on in your world. You know, whether it's business development or something going on in. So think about what you want to talk about. I get a call last night at 8 o'clock in a Flagstaff agent. He's selling a new home. Now, we don't. It's not a new home from a new like a Pulte Homes. It's a new home from an individual builder. We don't really have contracts designed for that, right? Because if it's a new home builder, we have a new home builder. If it's a regular resale contract, but we don't really have a new build contract for an individual builder. And I think there should be one, or at least some addendums that talk about certain things. And of course, depending on where you are in the construction of the new build, is it from scratch? Is it already being built? Is it just finishing up? Do you get to pick your interiors? So, you know, how do you put all that into a contract? So here comes the issue. And I'm still trying to understand it. And I haven't seen the contract, so I don't know all the details. Buyer does his walkthrough, and the buyer is not satisfied. We have the listing, and the buyer is not satisfied because the septic system, that's why Veronica called me, by the way. The septic system is a what they call a pump and hole system. So what's a pump and hole system? So the way I understand it is where this house is being built in Flagstaff. It's on a piece of land that's not level, flat, and so on. So you cannot put in a conventional septic system with a leach field. So they put in another type of system, which is perfectly legal, approved by the cities and all the the county codes and so on. But what happens is, because you can't have a leach field, every so often, and I don't know if that's every year, 5 years, 10 years, but every so often, it has to be pumped and hauled away. On a conventional system, the way we know it, you don't really pump it because you have this leach field. The only time it gets pumped is if you think there's something wrong with it, or we transfer property.
Actually, you are supposed to pump it every couple of years.
Not necessarily.
Because I'm on septic.
Okay, but not necessarily. But you don't have to, because the leach field is what it does. But is it a good idea? Of
But
course.
you do have the leach field,
Okay.
yeah, but you're supposed to do this.
So the question is now the buyer's saying, well, I'm curing you and I want out of the contract because you didn't disclose and blah, blah, blah. So what I'm trying to understand is, on the purchase contract, there's a line that says the house is on A, and it's 3 boxes. Sewer, it says conventional septic system, and then it says alternative system. So here's the question. We'll agree that a conventional septic system is a regular tank with a leach field. Should we agree on that? That's a conventional system. If this system is called a hole and pump, or pump and hole, if that's what it's called, is that a subcategory of a conventional septic system, or is it a completely alternative system? Because it's still a septic system, but is it a subcategory of a conventional system, or is it a completely alternative system?
Is the only difference the leach field?
As far as I understand, I have some people
So
to
then
call.
it comes down to how often you have to pump.
All right, but here's my
That's a
question.
big difference, because you've got the same tank.
I understand that, but is it considered a subcategory of a conventional system, or is it considered an alternative system? It's a big deal. This may be a small detail, but think about this. If it's a subcategory of a conventional system, and we checked off on the contract conventional system, then everything is good. But if we checked off conventional, and that was the agreement, but it's really considered an alternative, then that could be a problem.
So do you recommend not checking anything off and having it investigated during the inspection?
Well,
period?
the question
Or do
is,
you
what is
recommend
it?
checking both?
Well, the seller really should know. In this case, it was a new build, and I don't know at the time that he filled out the spuds that he really, they did the contract that they knew, because the septic system wasn't in at the time they did the contract. So there's a lot more information I have to gather. But the question is it a in my opinion, if it's a subcategory of a conventional system, and they checked off conventional, then it's fine. But if it's not, and they didn't check off alternative, and it's considered an alternative system, that could be a problem.
But wouldn't you investigate that during the inspection period?
Well,
And then
you
you find out, and then you do an addendum.
but during the
to
inspection
disclose
period, I'm learning all
it.
this stuff. I don't know that during the inspection period, the system was in yet. They did more of a traditional home inspection.
So who do you get the answer from?
Well, I'm calling up a septic tank company, and I'm calling up a septic tank designer. A company that actually installs them and puts them in. So I want to get their take on it.
But there isn't a box for a subcategory, right?
Well, there's 3 boxes, sewer.
Well, I know, but it's not subcategory of the.
No,
Okay.
that's what I'm saying. If it's considered a subcategory of a septic conventional system, then I think, and they checked off conventional, then I think it's fine. But if it's not, if it's got its own category, because I don't know what an alternative system is. If you don't have sewer and you don't have septic, what do you got?
Then it's gotta be alternative.
Run down.
I wouldn't check a box if I didn't know.
To
I mean,
be
isn't that?
Or
isn't
add
that-
another box.
And again, I don't know enough information, I haven't talked to them, it was late last night, I don't know all the details, where they were in construction they were building, when did they find out, was it disclosed, is it just, I don't know enough details, but that's how minutiae this gets.
Isn't that similar to the issue though with having a sewer system, whether it's actually connected or not connected?
Sure.
You don't know, even though you think McDowell Mountain Ranch, everything's connected, there have been cases where some have not been
Right.
connected, I think that's a few years
Right.
back, when I heard about it, but that's the same kind of thing. Agents were marking both, you know, that it's connected, and in
Right.
fact, it wasn't connected.
Right. Right. So at the end of the day, the question is, if the buyer, this is what I said to the agent, if the buyer felt they were wrong, at the end of the day, through all the rhetoric, what does the buyer want? Well, I don't know. Well, once we know what he wants, then let's see if the seller's willing to give it to him. If the seller's willing to give what the buyer wants, problem solved. If the buyer wants X and the seller says, no, I'll give you Y, well, then we have to figure out the difference between X and Y. Can we make a deal? And, I mean, at the end of the day, what does the buyer want? You'll hear me say this a lot. When we have issues, when we have problems, the person that's been wronged or the person that's not in breach, and they felt the other party is in breach, you gotta decide, buyer, the argument I always deal with is who's right, who's wrong. Okay? We never get to what the issue really is. You said you were gonna do this and you didn't do it. Yes, I did. No, you didn't. You said you were gonna fix the roof, and I fixed the roof. No, you didn't. You didn't fix it good enough. Let's get past that. Let's get past that. Because here's what it comes down to. It always comes down full circle. Sam, I'll give it to you. I lied to you. I'll even tell it to you like, I said I was gonna fix the roof, and I didn't. So let's get past the argument of who's right or wrong. You're right, I'm wrong, I lied to you. Okay? The question still remains, what are you going to do about it?
Fix the roof.
I'm not fixing it. What are you going to do?
Cancel the contract.
Well, but my point being, let's get past, we can argue, am I going to fix it, I'm not going to fix it. Let's get past the argument. I'm not fixing it, I lied to you.
Credit.
I lied to you. What do you want?
Credit,
Okay? I'm not giving it to you. What do you want to do about it?
cancel.
Okay? That's my point. You have a decision to make.
Right.
Well, and you're going to say to me, well, I love this house. I don't want to cancel. Okay. Well, I want you to fix the roof. I'm not fixing it. What are you going to do? Right? And you have alternatives.
Negotiate.
You can try to find some happy medium. What's the difference between X and Y and come at the happy medium? That's what I deal with all day long. Or you want to close the deal and make a claim to the seller after the fact. Say some great language. You do the walkthrough, and the buyer said the bidder said they were going to fix the roof, and it wasn't done. Buyer needs to close. They love the house, furniture's en route. They just sold their house. They have no place to go, so the buyer can close, and they can write a letter, an email, anything in writing, not to the title company but to the seller, and something along the lines that says, I, the buyer, will close as agreed upon in the purchase contract. However, the roof that was agreed upon to be repaired was not repaired. And although I'm closing, I reserve the right to make a claim against the seller after closing. You're just putting the seller on notice, okay? As opposed to just closing and agreeing to it, you're putting the seller on notice. You don't want to send it to the title company because they may not close the deal if there's a conflict. It's just a notification, and the beauty about notification is you don't need the seller to agree or disagree. I'm not asking for you approving it's on an addendum, it's a notification. I'm not asking you to like it, I'm not asking you to agree to it, I'm just putting you on notice, I am closing, but I'm reserving the right to make a claim after closing for something that you said you were going to do, or didn't disclose, or
So would that be litigation then, or?
well, what are you gonna do about it? How far do you wanna go with this? Right? You
'Cause
can,
that-
you can close and be mad and just close and go away. You can close and come after me. You can close, I mean, what do you wanna do? How mad are you gonna get?
Okay.
Think about that, right? Sam, you're right. I'm not arguing with you. You're right. What do you want to do about it? Don't cross this line. Don't cross this line. At some point, I cross the line. What am I going to do about it?
Yeah.
Am I going to punch you? Am I just going to walk away mad? Am I going to?
But if you're disclosing to them, I'm gonna sue you later.
I'm reserving the right to make a claim after closing.
Maybe they'll change their mind.
Maybe.
They really think about the
Maybe.
potential consequences.
Then you're saying, what are you gonna do about
That's
it?
the beauty
Yeah.
of it.
I mean, this just happened to me in the real world. We just had a client that wanted the roof fixed. The guy came and fixed it. And I asked for invoices from all the people that were doing the work. And the buyer said, there's no way they could have fixed that roof for $400. It's not possible.
It's 400.
I said, I agree with you. I said, what do we want? Here's what I'd recommend we do. We get the inspector back, have him take a look at the property, or the fix. And if he says it's not fixed right, then we got an issue. So he said, no, it's not fixed right. I said, okay, now we have to get a quote from the reputable roof company, get a number, and give it to them, and with a cure. And that's exactly what happened. And I thought they were gonna say, no, we're not gonna do it, because it was an investor. He said, I already have too much money in it, I'm not gonna do anything. Oddly enough, within 2 weeks, the roof was fixed. So,
Right. Listen, you know, I subscribe to what I call the doctrine of reasonability and common sense. It's not about being right or wrong, just what makes common sense. The story, a lot of you heard the story, you know, as a broker, not as an agent, but as a broker, when I hear stories, I'm not invested in it the way you guys are. There's no money on the line for me. I have no time invested. I have no emotions invested. I haven't dealt with this difficult buyer or seller or agent for the last 6 months trying to get this deal closed. So I come from a very neutral, and it's not about being right or wrong. It's just what's common sense. You know, what makes sense. And if the objective is to close the deal, and both parties want to close it, what do we need to bridge the gap? When it's my deals, and I got money on the line, I got time invested, I got emotions invested, it's a different ballgame for me. And I call you guys, I've called all you guys at times, I just know that you dealt with this or you're dealing with that, what do you think I should do? How did it work out for you? Because I hear a lot of the problems, I don't always hear the results, right? So I go back to those people, you guys are my guidance. Who do I call? Think about that, but when it's my line, I got money on the line, I got emotions, you know, I'm no different than you guys. So it's an interesting way to deal with conflict.
Can I ask a question on when you say you reserve the right to make a claim after closing? Where does that go after? So it
Put
closes.
on the Binzer.
Yeah, but
I mean on the walkthrough.
Okay, but I should have read.
Or you could just
What
send an
happens?
email.
What is the process on the claim after closing? After it closes and it's done.
Well, now you have to
decide.
decide. Do you want to make a claim or not make a claim? Here's what happens. This is not an end all be all absolute.
Yep.
You know, what's I'm looking for? You know, ironclad. You know, issue. But what the AAR tells us is that by not doing it, it just weakens your position a little bit. You closed escrow knowing that everything was okay, and now you're making a claim afterwards, as opposed to saying, "Hey, I've agreed to close, but something's wrong, but I'm going to close, but that was my commitment to you, but I'm reserving the right to make a claim." It doesn't make it right. It doesn't make it the sense that I'm not sure I'm using the right words, but
Yeah.
it doesn't make you going
I
to win the
understand.
case.
Yeah.
But by doing it beforehand, it kind of strengthens your position.
Okay.
And the beauty is, you don't need their approval or not approval. Because here's what happens. Mark, I'm not closing until you fix the roof. So I don't close. You signed all your closing papers. I, as the buyer, don't close. Guess what happens on day of closing and I don't sign? I'm now in breach. I can't be in breach and go after you for you being in breach. Right? So you can cure me for not closing. So you got to go through the motions to do it. Now, you can go to an attorney beforehand, and then all of a sudden it then becomes out of my hands. You go to an attorney before you close, and you want to be in breach. I'm taking the back seat to how the law will act.
Oh, okay.
Can you cure a cure? If you get cured, can you cure back for the same reason? You know what I'm saying?
Probably.
And I asked this because it came up one time where we didn't close, and we cured the seller for repairs not being made, and they cured us back for not closing, and the title side with us.
Okay, so watch this. Watch this. You cured them. You went through a work through 3 days before close of escrow.
Correct.
Okay, and you cured them for not fixing something.
Correct.
When did they cure you for not closing?
After we had done that.
When? But they couldn't cure you.
I don't remember when.
But wait. Think about the timing. So now you give them a 3-day cure period.
It was within the 3 days.
But they had to cure you. If they cured you for not closing, you had to wait. They couldn't cure you until you didn't close 3 days later.
Okay.
So your cure would have come in first.
It
Think about
did.
the timing of it.
Okay.
Your cure that you gave them is ahead of the cure they gave you.
Correct.
Because you started it in advance.
And that's how title viewed it and
Yeah.
refunded earnest money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, let's be reasonable, let's have common sense, but we're getting emotions. Listen, you guys deal with it more than I do when we deal with these, $1 million properties and multi-million-dollar properties, and they're fighting over 3 broken roof tiles.
Yep.
It is not the 3 broken roof tiles, it is not the $50,000 issue that they're dealing with, it's a power game. It's a power game, I've gotta win. And I don't mean to get political, I don't care what your political things are, but that's what I believe Trump is. Trump is all about winning, and it's about power. It's not about being right or wrong. He can't be wrong, and
He's gonna work until he
yeah.
is right.
Well, it's not about what's right. It's about being in control. That's what when you deal with buyers and sellers. It's not about what makes common sense. I have a deal right now. One of my best friends was selling his house. We sold it way back 6 months ago. They're building a new house. We had it sold. It was on a contingency. It was a good contingency. 3 months later, the contingency fell out, and we lost the deal. But it was a good risk because we still had 4 more months to sell the house. So we sell the house about a month and a half later. We're supposed to close this week, and he's supposed to close on his new house in 3 weeks. Okay? We found out 2 days ago that the buyer may not be able to qualify for the loan. So so it's ugly, right? So everybody's worst nightmare. Everybody's packed, moving, ready to go. Buyer and seller want to make this deal happen. So it's not as if they're looking to get out. Because if the buyer is looking to get out, he can just say, I just been turned down for my loan for whatever reason. Here's my unfulfilled loan contingency notice, and get his money back. But the guy is in the game. So they took it to a new lender who says that we can get this deal done. Okay? My seller says, we were supposed to close on April 5th. They've agreed to lease back the house at no charge for 3 weeks. And now it's costing us money, being the seller, and I'm gonna have to pay the mortgage for the rest of April. I want the buyer to pay me back that money. And I said, it's a fair request, but we can't make them. You can't make them do it. They gotta agree to it. You can't make them do it, right?
Yeah.
So my suggestion was, listen, the buyer, if you push this buyer one too many times, he could walk, get all his money back, and now we can start all over from scratch. You've got a buyer that wants to do the deal. He could have walked away, and he didn't. He wants to do the deal. We didn't addendum that we're extending closing because the new lender said he can get the deal done, and now they're allowing you to stay in the house as long as you want, no money involved. Just let it go. Don't push him any longer. To me, that's reasonable and makes common sense. Now, once he gets final loan approval, then he can't turn around, then we can say, hey, listen, you cost us, $1,500 on the extra date that we had to be in our house. We'd like for you to reimburse us. If he says no, fine. He says no, but he can't walk away because he got final loan approval. So let's wait till he gets a final loan approval, and then we'll see how it goes. But sometimes when you're mixed up in your own deal, so is the request fair? Yeah, it's fair. Is it going to happen? I don't think so, but I don't mind asking the question, but only after the buyer's committed. Because if we just push, I don't know the buyer, and if we're going to push him over the edge because he's already distraught about, he's got to leave his apartment, he's already boxed up, his kids are already in the new school, and this is just one more thing, now it's going to cost me another $1,500 and blah, blah, blah. Let's just close the deal. Let's just close the deal like original. If it costs you, it's not really costing them any more money because they have to pay their mortgage and they're still living in the house. So just try to be common sense and be reasonable about it. So that's always my thought. What else you guys want to talk about? Door knocking. So, when I first started, I did a lot of door knocking. And my concept is a little bit different from Dell. Dell's way more direct than I am. But I was farming different communities, and I was just trying to make connections with people. I was just trying to, and I did it every 3 weeks. I went to the same doors every 3 weeks, and I just tried to be that realtor that was there, asking real estate questions. And one of the things you might want to consider if you want to door knock and you just want to do it in your neighborhood, just to make a name for yourself or make a little bit of a reputation, brand yourself, if you will. So I was always afraid, like everybody else, they're going to slam the door in your face and say no. Right? Is that everybody's fear? So what I did was I did these surveys, and I had about 5 or 6 questions. And most of these questions I could care less, but it was just trying to create some dialogue. Hi, Mr. Graham. My name is Sandy Carpenter. I'm with REMAX Fund Properties. This is my service area in my community. As you know, I'm a real estate agent. I was just curious if you can tell me, how long have you lived in your house?
12 years.
Okay. Do you like the neighborhood? Has it changed for the better or the worse since you've been here?
It's been good. Yeah.
Where do you do most of your shopping? At the local Fry's or the local Safeway?
Fries.
Do you find the school system pretty good? I mean, are you happy with the school system, or do you send your kids to private school?
Private.
Private.
Yeah.
Is that because you're unhappy with the private school, public school
Yeah.
system?
Yeah, not really, but I just, I've always thought it's a better idea.
Just curious, if you were to move, do you have a real estate agent that you're committed to, a family member or anybody else?
I don't.
Great. Hey, listen, I really appreciate your time, and
Yeah.
I'll be back in a couple of weeks. I'll share the results with you.
Oh, cool.
I could care less where they shop. I can care less about the schools. I really want to know, is are you committed to an agent?
Yeah.
The way I do it is different than Del, because Del will just ask you right out. Hey, dude, tell me, right? He would just do it completely different. I have to beat around the bush to get to the answer I want. But I got my question answered, and it was my style.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not necessarily a wrong style, it was just my style. But I did come back 3 weeks later, and I had all the questions that I asked, the same questions to everybody, and I came back with the results. And I came back in percentages. 80% said they loved the neighborhood. 80%, 85% send their kids to public schools and they're satisfied. I didn't come back with the question about being a realtor, because that was for me.
Yeah.
60% shop at Safeway, 20% shop at Albertsons, or whatever the community. Do you use the local library? Whatever, it didn't make a difference what it was.
Yeah.
Are you interested in one of the questions I asked was, were you interested in putting together a HOA safety patrol in your neighborhood? And I organized that one. To the point where it didn't make a difference what they answered. I was sharing the results with neighbors to the other neighbors. Most of us don't know our own neighbors, and I did that kind of stuff in a community. If you're finding a geographical location, go to the fire department. Tell them you want to put on a fire safety. In the springtime, they'll come out with fire engines and they'll do things for the kids, and they'll put out pamphlets and they'll give lectures. They'll do it all for free. Police department will do the same thing. Phoenix or Scottsdale. Scottsdale's great at it. They'll come out to the HOA and they'll organize in their community room, or we did it. We never community room. We had a cul-de-sac in this. They had chairs, and the cops came out with cop cars, and the kids put on the hats and the uniform. They took pictures, and they talked about just being safe in your neighborhood.
I wanted to mention one thing that's kind of cool going on in our little community. So I'm at North 32nd, and there's a little coffee shop, 32 Shea, and we're doing like lender, realtor, title, or just lender, realtor, and we're doing teacher appreciation, free coffee and bagels from 6 to 7:30, and sending it out to all the local schools and telling all the teachers to come. And you're sitting there, you're mixing in England, thanking them for their what they've done this year. I mean, I literally just 3 teachers today have emailed me, thank you so much, this is me. I'm just like sending it out to people I know or whatever. Share it with your teachers, and thinking it's so cool. So just little things like that don't cost a ton, but you can be there, saying hi to them, shaking their hand, and then following up with those.
And I'll give you
schools.
another great idea. Let me finish my thought. I'll give you a great idea on that one.
Yeah.
So I did this neighborhood patrol, and I did. And we had a community room, and neighbors came up, and I did it with the HOA,
Yeah.
and we did it at the local. It was on 90th Street or 91st Street, and not Mountain View, a Shea. There was a Fry's. Is it a Fry's? It just opened up at the time. I got in touch with the manager. They had a community room like this upstairs in their store. He gave us the room because he wanted to, get into the neighborhood. Through that one program, I listed 2 houses, and none of them were community members. It was the policeman that put on the program, and about 6 months later, the store manager got a transfer, and I listed those houses. You just don't know. So let me tell you what I did with schools. So my kids went, when they were younger, they went to Sonoran Sky Elementary School. And that's also where my wife teaches. And my kids are 2 years apart in elementary school. So I figured, and I farmed a lot of homes in Sonoran Sky District. And my thought process was between me doing real estate, but more importantly, between my wife's name being in the school, between my 2 kids and their grade levels and their friends and all that stuff, the name Carpenter would get around a little bit. So I farmed really heavily those communities. And because my wife, I knew all the people in the schools, I worked out a business partnership with the principal of Sonoran Sky. And what I did was twice a year, I would come to their school and I would sit in the cafeteria. They would announce it coming up and call it a brown bag lunch, where they could come and just talk about real estate. What's going on in the world of real estate? What's your house worth? Maybe I bring a lender with me. Or or I just sat there in their lunchroom, because they had lunch, they staggered lunches, and I just sat there and I put out there just real estate information, ask questions here. And now, in Sonora Sky it was easy because I knew all the teachers. But I went to other schools in Paradise Valley School District where I didn't know them. And what they did for me was they put me in a room in their cafeteria, and I just sat there at the table. I didn't solicit, I promised it was not a hardcore, and I put out pamphlets, any real estate questions, I'm here to answer the questions. And people would come little by little, and it kind of propelled itself. But I did not, it was not a hardcore sale. I did not ask for that. If they didn't want to give me their contact information, I didn't take it. I made it simple. So I sat there, didn't make them uncomfortable in their own workroom, but yet I was there to answer their questions. And you can do that, schools will do it, businesses will do it. Go to an HR department, they'll do it. I used to do these all the time in my younger days, these brown bag lunches, just talking about what's going on in the industry, what's going on in the community. Wire fraud is a great example. You know, last year over $1 billion was lost in wire fraud for real estate transactions.
I've done this in quite a while, but I used to like go to a coffee shop, Neaters or whoever, and I'd give the lady $50, and I said, I'm gonna be over there, I'm with Remax, I'd like to buy the drinks only for anybody that comes in until the $50 is gone, just coffee or whatever.
Yeah.
And I was amazed.
I'm telling you, it's $50 that's so well spent. And it may not happen one time or two times. Boy, you take $50, you do it 3 times, $150. All you need is one person to give you their contact information.
Yeah, I got more than one person.
Right.
Wow,
So I'm gonna start doing that again. You got me on
Yeah, I'm
fire.
telling you, it's all those. Listen, it's all the little things. It's all the little stuff.
When
Yep.
you do surveys, how do you lead from, you know, do you like your neighborhood, do you wanna do HOA safety, all that? How do you lead from that next question to, do you have a realtor?
Well, I just kind of put it in the middle of it. I have someplace in my files I can pull out. I can pull
You don't
out.
want it to immediately sound like I'm, you know, leading them into a
Yeah.
sales call.
Are you thinking about selling your house in the next 6 to 9 months? Do you like this neighborhood? Are you here to stay? Would you move in the next 6 months? If you were to move, are you committed to a real estate agent or better yet? Here's one. I've never done this before, but we're all. And by the way, the point of my story was no one ever shut their door in my face and said no.
Right.
And it took me about 7 or 8 doors to realize, hey, this is easy. Do you know why no one shut the door in my face and said no? I never asked them a question.
Right.
Hi, my name is Sandy Carpin. This is my service neighbor. I'm with Remax. I just want to give you my contact information. Anytime you have any real estate questions, I hope you give me a call. Thanks very much.
Yep.
They don't have time to say no. They don't have time to shut the door in your face. They may not answer the door, right? But when I did the surveys, for example, and I don't remember if I spoke to 20 people or 220 people, but when I came back, I did it in percentages. So I didn't say, spoke to 200 people or 20 people and only 2 of you like, well, 20 people, you know, shopped at Albertsons and 35% shopped at, percentages tell a whole different story. You're just making an assumption on percentages.
Yeah.
But the percentages were accurate. I just didn't give it numbers. So if I spoke to 3 people and 30% thought shopped at Safeway, that's only 1 person. But it just seemed much more effective by putting in percentages. But I have it someplace. But those are the questions that were important to me. And then I had a decision to make for those that were committed to something. How difficult was it for me to, in this part, one neighborhood had 500 homes. How difficult was it me when I used to hand deliver things to skip over those homes? And after a while, it didn't make a difference. It just didn't make a difference. And today, it's so much more sophisticated because all the title companies can give you that information. You know, you want to solicit a neighborhood, how many people have been living in this house for more than 10 years? And you can zero, like I do, I solicit a lot for property management. I send weekly postcards, monthly postcards out. I'm looking for 85255. I'm looking for homes over $500,000, which most of them are. And I'm looking for non-occupied ownership. So all my postcards are going all over the place. You know, they're going out of the country, they're going out of the state. I'm looking for property management, I'm looking for rentals, I'm looking for the owners that live out of state, and I know them, right? So how about this one? Like Dale was talking about, he was looking for a particular floor plan that he was knocking on doors, Scott, right? Is that what you guys are doing? So you could do the same thing, and the problem is everybody does it. So it's hard to decipher the real ones from the phony ones, right? So I one time was looking for a specific floor plan, well, not a floor plan, but it had to be 4 bedrooms, the master bedroom downstairs, something like that, and had to have a pool. So I knew the area they wanted to be in. So I did it with the title companies, and I was able to decipher all the homes in that area that they wanted that had 4 bedrooms, 1 or 2 story, but the master had to be down with no pool, 3-car garage, whatever the amenities were. And I wrote them a letter, and I told them I had a buyer, but the buyer had very specific needs. They needed at least a 4-bedroom, 1 or 2 stories is okay, but if it's 2-story, the master had to be down, no pool, 3-car garage, right? But I stacked the deck, because every one of those letters I said went to those exact homes. They had to answer yeah, this is my home, this is my home, this is my home. So now the only other question I answered was, am I interested in calling this guy because I might be selling? Otherwise, I was just wasting my time for somebody that may not be interested. If I have a 3-bedroom, why would I send a 4-bedroom home to somebody? And I was able to decipher, so that everybody that got that letter had to answer the questions yes, in their own minds. Hey, I'm a 4-bedroom. My master's that downstairs. I got a 3-car garage. I got a pool. I don't know if they would take the next step. You ever see this joke? Not this joke, but this stock guy gets on the just gets his license as stockbroker, and he wants to impress people how smart he is because he's looking for clients. He sends out 1,000 letters, 500 here and 500 here. And this 500, he says, this is what's going to happen in the stock market in the next 6 months or the next 3 months. The market's going to go up. And these people, he says, the market's going down. And 3 months or 6 months pass, if the market went up, he throws these letters out and he takes these 500 people. And then he sends 250 letters, and 250 letters. He said, listen, in the next 3 months, next quarter, market's going up, market's going down. Whatever the market doesn't do, he throws those letters away. He's got 250 letters. 125, the market's going up, market's going down. Whatever doesn't happen, he throws away. He's got 125 people. He said, listen, for the last year, I've been telling you exactly what the market's going to be doing.
That is
It's a
sweet.
game. It's a game. If you ask the right question, here's one. I'm not going to do this right, but you get the idea. If you ask the right questions, you'll always get the answers, Scott. So going back to what's important to you as far as do you want to know how do you get your email address, for example. I'm just not as direct as Dale. I'll just do it in a different way. So watch this. Let's see if I can do this right. Mark.
Yeah.
Okay. In an ordinary deck of playing cards, by the way, pick a card. Just pick a card.
Got it.
Okay. In an ordinary deck of playing cards, half the deck is red and half the deck is black. If I said your card is a red card, you would say yes or no.
It is,
It
yes.
is. So we're going to throw away the black.
Okay.
Now, in the reds, there's 2 suits. There's hearts and there's diamonds. If I said your card was a heart, you would say
It is.
it is. So we throw away the diamonds. Now, in the hearts, there's we're going to divide that deck, right? There's the 10, there's the Jack, Queen, King, Ace, and there's number cards. If I said your card was a number card, you would say
No.
no. So we throw away the number card. That leaves us a Jack, Queen, King, Ace. Now, on the Jack, Queen, King, Ace, we're going to divide that in half. There's a Jack and a Queen, there's a King and the Ace. If I said your card was in the upper half, you would say
Yes.
yes. So now we've got the King, the Queen, King, and Ace. You see where I'm going with this? If I said your card was the King of Hearts, you would say
No.
no, which leaves us the Ace and the Queen. If I said your card was the Queen, you would say
It is.
there's the card. Look how great I was. Found this card. Right? It's just the idea that if you ask the questions in a certain way, you'll get the answers that you want. I'm just not as direct. That's my style. I'd rather ask a roundabout than ask the question directly. Dell is just way more direct. That's just not.
I'm
That's just.
sort of like you when I was doing my coffee thing, and people would come over to thank me for buying their drink, and I live in the Arcadia area. And first thing I'd say, well, yeah, do you live in the Arcadia area? No. Where do you live? And then we just talk very casual. No, I'm not a real estate agent. I just want to know a little bit more about you.
Yeah.
And more often than not, yeah, here's my card. Do you have a card? Yeah. Bingo.
There was a guy I used to work for. This guy was probably the world's greatest salesperson. His name was Dan Cash. Dan Cash's claim to fame was, you give me 15 minutes with anybody and I'll find the link. I will find something in common. And I just took that. Open houses, I would talk about everything under the sun on an open house but real estate. Mark, where are you from? Well, the first question I ask is, the first question on an open house I'd ask is this. So I'm just curious, did you see the signs on the street, or did you see the ad or in the paper or the
Zillow, I
advertisement?
found you guys on Zillow.
Now,
Yeah.
I don't advertise on Zillow, so I already know he's lying. So just put the red flag. It just put the red flag, right?
Yeah,
Okay. So I'm just curious, are you familiar with the neighborhood?
yeah, a little bit, a little
Okay,
bit.
so, yeah, please help yourself, do your thing, right? The point was, and that's, so you live in town? You've been here a long time?
Since '87,
Oh, wow, where are you
Yeah.
from?
Detroit,
Detroit.
Yeah.
My wife's from Detroit, and that's all I needed. What part of Detroit are you from?
Ann Arbor.
Ann Arbor, so
Yeah.
you're a Wolverine.
Yeah,
I see.
actually.
Well, my wife's
Went to school
a
there.
Spartan. I would just talk to him so I make this connection. I would talk to him
Absolutely
anything
right.
under the sun. And then if I did get your contact information, the first thing I'd write that letter right then and there, because I'd forget, after the fourth person comes in. Mark, thanks for coming by the open house. Even though you're a Wolverine and I'm a Spartan, maybe we'll have a chance to talk some more in the future. Just something. I
Anything,
made
yeah.
some sort of connection.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just some
Yep.
sort of connection. And that was my program. That was the way I did it. And I thought I was good at that.
At open houses, I kind of do your style. I'm very conversational, but one thing that I kind of added that really has made an impact is once I get their telephone number and information, as they're leaving, I'll actually do a video. Thanks for stopping by.
Perfect.
It's great to meet you and your family. I hope I can. And I've got more text and feedback from that little video.
It's a great idea.
Cool.
Great idea.
And a couple of times, like if I was showing a house, I'll do it on the way in my car. They said, you send a video in your car.
Right. That's a great idea. We didn't have videos back
That's
in the
pretty
day,
cool.
as they say. But yeah, I mean, just have to find your style, your comfort level. It is not rocket science. It's
No.
not a rocket science.
And
It's
there's
just not.
contracts, there's
We all
finances,
know
it's all
people.
about
We've
people.
all done deals over the years, and
Yeah.
we all said this. Man, an agent doesn't know. How are they even in the business?
Right.
They just know people. They just know people, and they just get the deal done.
At the end of the day, that's all
It's not a
about is
rocket
people.
science issue. You just have to be able to talk to people. Not even be able to, just talk to people. Just find something in common with them.
Mhm.
And I'm telling you, you're halfway home. You're halfway
Absolutely.
home. So.
Couldn't agree more.
Okay, my producer is saying. Any questions? So anyway, I'll just give you another plug on Cam Advantage. That's what we talk about. We'll talk about anything that you guys want to talk about. What's going on in your world, what's your issues, what's your problems, and if you don't have a topic, I'll always find topics. There's always stuff to talk about. And I'll
So
end
to
off
share
by
really
saying
quick, this
Remax
was-
Fine Properties does have market share in 85255.
Wanted to share these flyers that we made for Scott for a little open house, so they're really cool little trifolds. So if you guys have any interest or need anything, please use us for any marketing stuff. Yeah.
Are we off camera? No, we off camera.